Hi guys, welcome to BTM Afrika. My name is NYDJ, and today on this episode we are bringing you more like a podcast where we're going to have conversations about our entertainment industry and what's happening across Africa. Now, there's a growing conversation about how African artists are charging out of market price across Africa. Event promoters are crying, all the people in the industry are crying. Now we get into this conversation to find out what exactly is happening. Afrobeat artists actually charging out of price when it comes to Africa. Music made in Africa, yet the consumers cannot enjoy as much as they want to do because they can't pay to have these same artists perform for them. That's the conversation we're having. Now, this conversation is starting because we've seen a number of promoters get on social media to start talk about it. Let me read a couple of comments that I've seen online and share this with you. So Paulo is an event promoter. At some point, he was the manager for Techno, for P Square, and all those artists. He shares something on Instagram, and I want to read that to you here. And he says, concert declining globally, music streaming high, Nigerian artists price themselves out of market in Nigeria. Now, concert is declining globally. Will Nigerian artists reduce prices in Nigeria? That's the question he is actually asking. Now, with reference to concerts declining globally, I mean, there's a report, a 2023 report that suggests that in the past quarter or the last quarter of 2023, a lot of concerts globally have been cancelled. This is because there is lack of ticket sales. Ticket sales are not going as much as people thought they will go. But streaming numbers are up. And again, according to that same report, streaming numbers actually overtook that of concert sales for this particular year. Let me read something from the Madison Square Garden's report that they released. And it says that Madison Square Garden entertainment revenue in its fiscal 2024 first quarter calendar, that's Q3 or calendar quarter 3 actually, shrank 3% year over year or by $4.2 million. So that's how it shrank over the year. Now, people have actually shared opinions about this and with regards to what Polo said. And I remember DJ Abrante, who is one of the amazing guys to have actually pioneered Afrobeats in the UK, also left a comment. Now, this is what he says. Word, been saying and seeing this. All the concerts in quarter 4 cancelled due to low ticket sales, big avenues, artists charging ridiculous amounts, and promoters going bankrupt to put on the show. This time next year, nobody will want to know. Now, another lady also shared a comment that says it is heartening to see some Nigerian artists taking advantage of promoters and engaging in practices that harm the industry's integrity. Many of them demand exorbitant fees while committing to more than a couple of bookings each year, driven by greed rather than a genuine interest in their craft. Artists must remember that promoters play a crucial role in their success, putting food on their tables. It's concerning how vulnerable situations leaving promoters in difficult positions. Promoters can find themselves in financial debt due to promises of future collaborations that might never come to fruition. Artists can be remarkably charming when they need something, but once their objectives are met, they often become less accessible or deflect requests to their management. For the betterment of the industry and the relationships within it, it's essential for both artists and promoters to work together transparently and professionally. This not only ensures fair compensation for the artists, but also enables promoters to operate without fear of being taken advantage of. And you know Adesope has been with the Afrobeats movement, with Smith and all those who travel all over the world with regards to Afrobeat. He also left a comment and says, there will be a reset. The game is about to change, evolve, or die off. So these are a few comments that are coming through when it comes to Afrobeat artists and whether they are charging out of market value or they are charging out of market prices across Africa. Today on the show, I'm going to have a conversation with Baba Sadiq. Baba Sadiq is a Ghanaian events promoter. He is the CEO and the founder of 3 Music Awards. He also founded 3 Music TV and currently with Wildaland Festival, one of Ghana's biggest music festivals that happens actually in the trees, if I should put it. Baba Sadiq is going to join me on BTM Afrika podcast today. So we have a conversation. Are the African artists or the Afrobeat artists charging out of African prices? With that same conversation, let me remind you that if you come to Ghana, for instance, there's one of the biggest events that we have in the country, and that has to do with Afrochella, now known as Afrofuture. Now, one of the CEOs, one of the founders, has also spoken with regards to these same charges. Now he says, your favorite Afrobeat artist wants $400,000 and a private jet to a show in West Africa. As an event organizer, how many tickets do you have to sell? What price point in order to attend and to afford that? And don't forget about the other costs, production, marketing, etc. for the show. So there's a lot of conversations happening about how much our Afrobeat artists are deciding to charge when it comes to the African continent. Others says, yeah, if you're charging $1 million in America, that's fine. Don't bring the same thing to Africa. Let's get into this conversation right after this. All right, guys, so we are about to get into the conversation. I told you my guest on BTM Afrika podcast, the very first episode has to do with Baba Sadiq. He is the CEO of Wildaland Festival here in Ghana, West Africa. He has worked with a lot of talent. And I mean, we can't just mention the number of talents. A lot of them. He's actually recommended talent for other events and promoted so many things. And he gets to talk to us about his experience on this particular conversation we are having. Baba, thank you very much for joining us on BTM Afrika podcast.
Thanks for having me. So in terms of Wildaland, I'm just the founder.
Okay.
But it's actually running it.
Okay, that's fine.
Let's say my founding status for this platform. So whilst the people running actually
okay.
show up more about it.
All right, that's fine. So he's the founder for Wildaland Festival. Now, there's a growing conversation about African artists or Afrobeats artists, and some will say outrageous prices, or others say they are charging out of African market prices. I don't know if you've seen that conversation and what you make of it. Are these artists charging out of African prices? What should be the price range for them?
Well, I mean, this concern has always been there. I'm not surprised that it's now coming out. But I mean, in terms of industry, we've always had these conversations. We've always had this conversation even with the talents themselves. I think that it's safe to say that at certain levels of where we are now, talents are outpricing themselves out of the market. And when we say outpricing themselves out of the market, this is what we mean. The available revenue lines to make money. And when I always said, when I say the market, people think that I'm talking about population size. No. And when I say the market, I'm talking about the opportunity, the size of the opportunity or the revenue lines available to make money. Doesn't support some of the expenses that goes into this, and particularly some of the heavy costs that goes to talent. And so it's safe to say that they are outpricing themselves out of market because the size of the markets, as in the revenue lines, doesn't support. And the revenue lines, obviously, the assured ones, would always be, tickets, possibly sponsorship and capital investment. But again, if we all are concerned about the sustainability of industries, we all must be concerned about the return on the investment that goes into it, definitely. And so it's been a major concern. There's no one proper solution line to look at it, except to have the conversation. Because yes, it gets a particular point where you need to have a bigger conversation with everybody, because it's also a very big sector. And at the heart of some of the structural challenges we've had, there's a lack of conversations that we have across board regarding the challenges. Also because some of these conversations are not the most comfortable conversations you can have, because, I mean, there's one part that we feel like, Charlie, we've gotten to a point where we for cash out, we for make money. And then these people are also going to bring up this conversation of, Charlie, we need to step down. They may not really understand the issues of sustainability and markets, and then there is fanatics, and they also sometimes do not understand that because for them, they feel like everything good or everything must come to maybe their favorite talent. And so they'll fight, they'll defend it. And for a lot of people that do not necessarily have thick skin, it's not the things they want to be embroiled with, And so the conversations always leaves hanging, and then we are always coming back to the same problems and everything. But this has been one of the major concerns in the background. That has been conversations have been had about it again and again and again. 2 weeks ago, I reached out with Abdul, Afrofuture,
Yeah.
Had a very brief WhatsApp conversation on it. And I know eventually when we'll meet, we'll take it up and have a full-blown conversations on it.
Now,
You
talking
know, so
about,
it's
I mean, Afrofuture, for instance, one of the guys behind Afrofuture has actually been on Twitter all morning talking about, that's Dizzy, has been talking about how artists are trying to charge $400,000 plus, private jets and all that for the African markets. Now, when we say the artists are pricing out of the African market, is it that there's not enough to be made in the African market, um, or promoters are trying to cut down how much they spend on the artists? Are these artists not deserving of these amounts of money that they are charging?
Well, one would say, obviously, enough, excuse me, enough is relative, relative to various different segments,
Yeah.
because sometimes you cannot treat all the markets as the same. I mean, we don't have each and every of the markets do not have the same level of resources, across board. So, in terms of economy, the United States economy is bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, there are more matured economies, and then there are developing economies, and so you cannot obviously treat these markets the same. You cannot bundle developing economies and the matured or maturing economies into one, and that explains why a lot of global organizations, try to segment the market, look at the needs of the market, and then adjust their pricing models to adjust and to make it work. So you will see that some of the services you've got to pay Twitter or Facebook, for instance, in the US or in the UK is not the same as here because we've got our own peculiar needs and challenges as a continent. So the markets are not the same, and the resources in all the markets obviously won't be the same, and the scale won't be the same. So the expectation is that when it comes to costing and pricing, I mean, if you're charging $500,000 for a show in the United States, which is actually not even going to make the money back, and this is actually even in a more matured market, and it's handled by some of the reputed businesses, it should tell you that, I mean, those of us even in the African continent won't be able to make money back as well because we have a relatively smaller or developing economy with all the challenges that it comes with. So yes, the truth, the blatant truth is that, and everybody knows is that when you go a certain scale in terms of budgets or costs, it's very difficult to make the money back. It's very difficult to make the money back. And that has always been a key point when we're talking about sustainability of the industry. And that also explains why consistently you see very brilliant ideas, properties come and go. And it doesn't help the sustainability and the growth of industries when consistently things keeps coming and going, investors keeps looking and going. We can collectively build it. And so the call has always been that as much as we are all for the growth of the African music industry, as much as we are all for the growth of the space, it's also important that individuals or the various different elements of industries will be mindful of the markets and what pertains in each and every market so that the pricing models can be adjusted from market to market.
Well,
You
that's
understand? And so
something I
that
was just about to talk about. Like the pricing models could adjust from market to market. Some people are of the opinion that, I mean, if perhaps Davido is coming to Ghana and says, okay, because it's Ghana, I'm charging $100,000, then the next moment somebody is flying him to South Africa and saying, yo, I'm also going to pay $100,000, because that could actually send a kind of negative feedback about the artist and his pricing across the continent.
Well, in actual fact, the artists do not, even as it stands now, they do not charge the same across different shows anyway, and it's understandable. And so I think that to a large extent, to be understandable. And this explains why they need to be mindful of the market. Look, the size of the market here relatively is smaller. You know, it's smaller. When I say it's smaller, it's not it's not necessarily the size in terms of population size,
Yeah.
but the size of the opportunity in the market.
Sorry
The
about
size of
that.
the opportunity in the market. Where opportunity in the market means that when you look at the total amount of advertising or marketing budgets or revenues that exist to be tapped into as one of the capitals to help produce some of these experiences, it's not enough, first and foremost. And you cannot actually even blame the system because the system itself as well, the way it's structured, these businesses and the companies will spend relative to their targets.
Yeah.
So obviously if your business is targeting to make, let's say, 200 million cities from the market within a particular year, their marketing spend will be a percentage of that. Every business and the percentage they spend on their marketing money. They are not going to spend 400 million cities only on marketing. And so it would always be relative and it will always be quite smaller. Then again, when you look at it within the market, also because it's a developing economy, right? You may not be able to have people pay beyond a certain threshold. It's a big deal when people must pay beyond a certain threshold because one, it's a developing market, it's a developing economy. Two, there's a socioeconomic impact. And across the world, when there are global challenges, the socioeconomic impact that is felt here is bigger.
Yeah.
And so you could understand that when there's any little shocks here and there, the socioeconomic impact is bigger and affects everybody. So in that particular instance, everybody becomes tight and everybody try to tighten their budget and try to avoid some of these things. And so if you look at that and you know all these factors, then it means that if you may or produce some of these experiences, you need to operate at a certain level. So at least you can break even, or even when you are making losses, it should be almost negligible losses that will not affect the return of these experiences. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So because in the market now, the average that given the economic challenges that people within the market can spend on experiences, at most 300 or 400 cities, even that one safe, the complaint to you.
Yeah.
You will see that conversations, you have 400 cities, poly 400 cities for this particular experience.
Yeah.
The person will start to calculate in enjoying this particular situation currently.
Yeah.
How much he can use 400 cities to do?
Yeah.
What the things 400 cities can do for him. We are in a survival state essentially, and so during survival, parting with more money for things that are not necessity for people, it's not the things that they do. Entertainment, yes, it's very important. It helps to drive social cohesion in society. It helps to keep people productive. It helps to improve the quality of life of the people because it gives them the necessary break from work and all of that. But most importantly as well, it is not necessity for people. Necessity would always be food, where to lay their heads, clothes, and so these things will rank higher on their needs than entertainment. And so you can imagine that when they are hit with the socioeconomic impacts, these people resort to these things other than entertainment. And also because you are a developing market and you do not have a lot of people above or living beyond a certain minimum wage, it means that they cannot go beyond a certain threshold. It's always difficult. And that's why you've also noticed that a lot of people try to put their events and activities in December towards the last quarter because there are a lot more people coming into the country. I've seen Tidal Rave, but if you look at Tidal Rave, if you look at the costs that they were charging per ticket, even if you're going to do, I think the average ticket was about 200 cedis, if I'm not mistaken. So 200 cedis, right?
Yeah.
That's their most expensive ticket.
Yeah.
Yes, so it should be safe to say that the average was almost about 100. But if their most expensive ticket is 200 cedis, let's even assume that you had, I don't know if it's safe to say they had almost 8,000 or 9,000 or 10,000 people in there. But let's even say in good case scenarios, they had 10,000 people in there. And all these 10,000 people were paying. Anyway, if you have a calculator, let's do the maths now and see some few things for instance.
It won't math, don't worry, it won't math. Because the figures will be crazy.
Yeah, so let's even say that they had 200 times 10,000 people in there. That's 2 million cities, right?
Yeah.
That's just 2 million cities. That's just the ticket there. And this is us saying if everybody else paid, because obviously we know that there's not everybody that said that will pay. There are some there that are there because it's complimentary.
Yeah.
There are some that are there on the account of sponsors. There are some that are there for varied reasons. They are media They are supporting brands. It's a varied reasons.
Yeah.
So let's even say that it was almost everybody paid. That's 2 million cedis. Again, sponsorship. I doubt if they were going to get a total number of sponsorship that's even a million. Of course,
That's really going
because
to be
the
tough.
market again, yeah, because of the way the market again is, you won't have brands paying you amounts beyond a certain threshold. The basic sponsorship conversations that are being had is still 150,000 cities at most, 200,000 cities at most. At best, these days, 300,000 cities. Even that one safe. It'd be trouble. It's a lot of trouble to actually have to get
Yeah.
even that 300,000
Yeah.
cities. Everybody is, because of the way the market is and the socioeconomic impact that has hit the market,
Yeah.
right? So let's even say that they've got a number of brands that are on, and everybody, even if it's 5, and everybody has paid 200,000 cities, that's like a million. Now, that's the opportunity or the market. That's what the market has given them. 3 million cities. 3 million cities, 3 revenue lines that you're going to make money for. Now, beyond these 3 million cities, imagine if talent costs are almost about 3 million cities. Imagine if all these talents, from what we know they charge or what we know they offer themselves are, all the talent that perform, that figure will be more than 3 million cities, which means that even just strictly on talent alone, you're going to break even, right?
Yeah.
Now, the other cost, marketing cost. You've got to do all the billboards, social media, blah, 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 blah. You're paying sound, you're paying lights, the stage, the dome, the venue, the logistics
Production and
there,
all that.
all
Yeah.
of these things. So
Security.
you can imagine that you have to put it together. Their cost will shoot to almost about 5 million cities. And the revenues or the revenue from the projections that we are making is just about 3 million cities. It means they are going to go negative
Yeah.
almost
They're
by
going to
about
run
2
at a
million
loss.
cities. Now, how do they stay up or continue to stay up?
They will eventually
So
fold up.
that's the thing about it. Again, you ask a question on whether talents don't deserve or do deserve. Look, people deserve the values that they mention. But then again, if it's not discussed thoroughly, and for us to have this thing, what would happen is that we will see a decline in third-party promoters actually putting up shows and billing. Alternatively, if it's not the conversation is not had properly, and for us to fully understand that everybody's actions is tied to the sustainability of the industry, we may get to a point where you see a decline of other people in the value chain putting up more shows because, Charlie, it won't be worth it anymore. And then we'll see a lot of talent-driven shows in market. But we also know the truth about talent-driven shows in market. It's almost the same as us. You race because what we see, particularly in December, is there are about 6, 7 talent-driven shows. All these talents are going to play. They do in Nobwa mostly. Are
Yeah.
going to play
They are mounting
these
almost every state to support a brother or a sister.
for free.
Yeah.
Which means that with period, all of you may not have made money. That's one. Just by having the shows. Everybody is getting is for free if that continues. Secondly, it doesn't mean that the talent that's actually even doing the show and putting you on is also actually even making money.
Yeah.
The best they can make is to make an argument for their brand equity and then to also keep their visibility and top of mind up.
Yeah.
That's the best case to make. So it will get to that point where even if you are not actively paying and you have to partner other third-party promoters to have to do that, even these third-party promoters will one day wake up and realize, but we are not making money. We are all not making what's happening. And then the issues will start, and then you see that these shows begin to go down, decline, and all of that. So it is always, we need to, and for industries to grow, it always won't be about just one party of it that is staying up, but almost everybody in the value chain being able to actually hold their own in that small way. Because the primary market is very, very important. I keep saying today, every artist that has blown and gained that global prominence couldn't have done that without the foundation of the primary market. Most importantly, even when you go across the world, to properly stake your claim in a global contest, your primary market still must make sense. It would always be a part of the base or part of the market that you tap into globally.
Yeah, that's true.
It always, because if Benabar is performing across the US, for instance, 60% of the audience that are actually attending the show are people that are connected to Africa, but they are in the diaspora.
That's true.
Either they are descendants of what do you call it? People from Africa that are there, or they are Africans that are, for one reason or the other, immigrated to these particular countries. They would always form a base. They would always base of your markets. And so it's and because they will always form a base, that explains why there's no talent whatsoever that cannot afford to have a resonating effect in their country. You need to have a resonating effect in your country. I look at a lot of the talents that from Ghana, for instance, have gained prominence in the last 3, 4, 5 years globally. Their biggest resonating hits have been hits that be from here.
From their country,
not
their own countries.
From their country, not the ones that was activated there. He has always been known from here. When everybody had come together to say, let's enable market from you. Forget about everything that international brands and everybody will tell you, but it would always start from here.
Well, so it means that conversation obviously needs to go on. Most of the people always think that, it's just about us. And these are conversations we've had before most of the time. When artists say support your own and all that, or enabling industry, they are thinking it's just about what they benefit and not what other people in the circle also seek to get. So I think this conversation must go on, and it will go. People are saying that, listen, with what's going on, a time may come when...
Okay, as usual, the reason why we always get to this point and we don't move is also because you just watch. The conversation has been started by experienced industry people that have been actively trying to keep things running in industry for the past few years.
Yeah.
But guess what would happen? Once the fanatical mob gets in and they douse the conversation, that's when we lose the very essence of the conversation that we're having. Because for them, it is not much about the sustainability of industry, because perhaps they don't know it. They are not actively investing. They are not there. It is about, Charlie, we there, if you say one our favorite for this. We there, we do want to say, we there, if you say one our favorite for this. You people, what should they talk about? If you know, do so, if you know. Almost trying to trash everybody's feedback. Because, now they have the voice through social media. And so what would happen is that continuously, the views of other people in the value chain keep getting trashed, keep getting put down. And obviously, even by people in the industry that just want to get famous for maybe talents, for instance. They keep doing that. We will keep doing that. So one day we just snap out and realize that, Charlie, the things that we've been always afraid of will come back again. Because NY, now it's actually even cheaper to book Rod Rich than some of your top Ghanaian Nigerian talents. Yes, actually relatively cheaper to book not only Rod Rich, the baby, and some of the new talents that are breaking through in all these markets in America. So if we don't take care, we may see if industry may or must survive, and these things must happen again and again, because the livelihoods of other people in the value chain must be sustained and businesses in the industry must be sustained. We may have to then, you see that people would have to try turn, because we are always finding ways and means to survive. And when you are in a survival mode, you do everything to survive without necessarily having to think about the
consequences of that.
The consequences of it. So everybody survive. Then we wake up to realize that, wait a minute. At a point in time, there was a decline of American music. But it looks like American music is back. Then we go into another reset mode of, hey, support your own, change this, do so. That's what happened to us.
People have suggested that a time is coming when DJs will now have to, or promoters will now have to book just DJs to play music and entertain the audience, and artists will be out of the market.
We're getting into the raves. Look, I was at Tidal Rave, and as much as I enjoyed some of the talent performances, there is nobody, absolutely nobody, that can deny the fact that some of the best entertainment or performances of the night was a combination of hype men and DJs. Between Varosky and Kojo Manuel, it was a jam. Between Kojo Manuel and some of the DJs as well, it was a jam. It was a jam. You could see it was them. It was a jam. So It's we need to hear ourselves more. We need to talk more. We need to think more about all of us in it. It's not a one size fits all, but the conversation is important.
So, I mean, in wrapping up with this particular conversation, what would you say is the way forward? Is it the conversation, everybody in the value chain now coming to the table and saying that, listen, we need to keep this going. It shouldn't just be about our interest. So this is what we should do. Is that what we should be doing now?
Yes, of course, we need to. We need to. Other than that, what would happen is that individual businesses or units or brands will begin to realign to themselves, and try to find a way out of it for themselves, as a way of keeping up or surviving, right? And and perhaps for them that will be the way. If we do not, a lot of things may falter. Brands will fold, businesses may get out of the space and take the investments and the human resource and everything away, which will ultimately also affect the space, and then we will just wake up to realize that looks like nothing they go on. Then now we are forced to actually begin to form partnerships. We've been there before. We've been done at different points in time. We've been there before. And so the transition looks like we are going through that transition. Don't forget, there was a point in time where there didn't seem to be a clear revenue line for industry because the music was essentially for free. It was on all the platforms for free. There were no plenty money to be able to do the show, serve the brands. Hello, let me just continue. The force is crazy. The brands were not spending, and so we're there before. And then there was a reset, and then the resets where find some newer talents that we can work with. Then you go into that same distance. But we need to have the conversation. We need to understand each other. We need to know that it's a total value chain and everybody is important in it. We all need to factor in the sustainability of the industry. Other than that, we will wake up one day and then, a lot of these things are not there. That ultimately, the things I've always said to people is that for a lot of talent, their shelf life is relatively less compared to executives of industry,
Yeah.
and I think it's reservedly, consistently, I tell them that, I mean, if I factor myself, I factor even some of the older compatriots that have been in the industry from like the mid-90s till now, I see a lot of them still available and still engaged in something profitable.
Yeah.
But can
Compared
you
to the
say same for
talents.
all the talents that have come and gone?
No.
So we need to have a conversation as well and see how the talent can better get remunerated so their hard work also doesn't go unnoticed or unrecognized or unrewarded
Okay.
financially. And then also we also need to think about also the space, how we can also stay sustainable enough to keep coming up and giving money or ensuring the revenue lines for all these talents. It's a must-have conversation. I'm glad it has started, and I'm hopeful that it won't be one of those things that is hijacked and taken over by sometimes ignorant, fanatical mobs, but it will be something that we can all quietly and reasonably have conversations on for the better.
All right. Well, Baba, thank you very much for speaking to us on BTM Africa, the podcast. I really appreciate this insightful conversation. And hopefully, like you said, this conversation would actually go on, and the betterment of industry is what we all look for. So that at least at the end of the day, we know that we're able to achieve something with these conversations and not just talk shops. Thank you very much, Baba, for speaking to us. All right.
All right, cool.
All right. So, guys, I'm pretty sure you've been able to see what exactly happened here on the show. We had to have that conversation with Baba Sadiq, who is the founder of Three Music Awards. Of course, he actually founder of Three Music TV as well, and currently with Wildaland Festival and all the things that they've been up to. He had made mention of that on the show. So let's look forward to other conversations on this same thing as to whether the African artist or the Afrobeat artist is charging themselves out of the market. The next time you go to an event and perhaps don't see your favorite artist on stage, don't cry because they are charging figures that these promoters can't really pay. Because one thing that's so hard to come by today has to do with sponsorship. And so if they are not getting the sponsorship, I mean, how much would you like to pay to attend a concert? If Westgate is charging $1 million, Imagine you're playing at the Dome. How much are you going to make back? It becomes tough for promoters to put these artists on these same stages. So maybe we should continue that conversation. Don't be a fanatic and don't just say, yes, my artist, so he deserves the 1 million. But do you think the promoter will make that money back? If it doesn't, it means that the next time you set out any event, they can't bill any other artists and they may eventually leave this industry. Thank you very much for watching. I don't know what your concerns are, but if you want to share your opinions with us on this particular channel. Thank you for watching. Catch you some other time on the same network. Bye.